All right, today, guys, we're going to be doing a video with a special treat. This is my wife, Nicole, and we're going to do a video on just kind of the wife's perspective on being with an online fitness coach or macro coach or whatever you want to call it, and kind of shedding her perspective on what it really is like on the back end. So this is a pretty special video to me because I love my wife dearly, and I wanted to kind of bring her in and just shed some perspective on things. And I just want to start off, well, Nicole, my wife, she worked with me for a little bit starting out before we actually started dating, and kind of give a little bit of insight on what that was like as a client.
As a client? Well, at first I think I was pretty much for you a stubborn client. And also too, I think one of the things you told me is I was a hard client just because of things that I had going on with me. I have food allergies and celiacs, so that was something that you were still fresh to, but you weren't something that you hadn't heard of or worked with. It just not to the level and degree of where I was, where I am, I should say. So even today. As a competitor, definitely a pain in your ass, for sure.
Yeah, at times, yeah.
But, I mean, overall, I know, I was extremely happy with how you treated me. You made me feel comfortable. I think I probably shared more stuff with you than I did with anybody, although there was things that I was still kind of stubborn in my own ways, not knowing how to use your charts. I fought with those forever, and I didn't ask you for help, but I figured it out, even though I was like crying through
stubbornness,
my charts, trying to figure out even that, but I did. So for me, I think what it did, it helped me get almost like basically my life back. So I love what you do, and I think it's important that everybody gets to have a part of you in some way. So, because it changed my life so much. Even today, we know how much it's helped me and how much healthier I've become. I mean, I still have my struggles, and you still deal with those, just on a different level now. But I don't think I'm as extreme as I was before, just because I'm not as nervous to share anymore. But so all those things that I appreciate, your patience, your attentiveness, you're willing to show me and teach me, and you didn't give up on me, even if I wasn't sure I wanted to continue. And then I think you got a little feisty, which at first you probably weren't as much as I needed in the beginning, but you learned my personality, and then you fought with me. Not fought with me, you fought with me in a sense to put your foot down, to say, okay, Nicole, you need to do this for your health. So that stuck out a lot for me. That was huge. And then I finally listened, and that was probably the hardest and the best decision that I could have made, and the longest journey for me to get to where being healthy now.
Took some time.
Again, it took a long time.
Yeah.
So it was really hard.
So how was it transitioning from being a client to dating? Like, what'd you see different from your perspective as a client to when you on the back end? How was that different?
Well, I think as far as you being a macro coach, and something, it was new when I had heard of you and I had watched behind stage, because that's where I met you. I met you competing, and that a lot of it seemed too real. It seemed too good to be real kind of situation. So once we became as a couple, seeing the other end of how you live in real life and not just on stage or in videos, that you actually were doing the things that you said you were doing. We started dating during one of your preps, and I wasn't prepping, so I actually got to experience that end, which was very eye-opening
weird.
for me. It
'Cause
was
you're
really
usually
weird. I was
putting
always
everyone else through the pain.
yes. So, so I thought that process was really cool for me to see you transition that way. So
Mhm.
I did. I learned a lot. It was hard, but yet your consistency, and then seeing you have a coach too, and going through some of the things that same as any other competitor, you question what you look like, you not
Mhm.
sure.
The
you're-
mental battles.
Yeah, or having a hard time, training or doing anything, just like any other competitor. But I guess the main part for me was just seeing that you actually followed everything that you were getting on me for. So that was really, it was eye-opening. And then I think it was mutual for you and me, because there was things you saw from the inside, from me as a client, where maybe you, now that we've had discussions, that you weren't sure, you thought maybe I wasn't being truthful,
Mhm.
and there were some things that I wasn't, and we discussed that too. So,
Yeah.
but that was a learning experience. But also too, I think it gave us, me for you, perspective as a client, as being a girlfriend, to look at things a little bit different with clients, and then you with me, there was also too a better understanding for what your clients were going through, because you actually saw firsthand the experiences I was
Now, did
having.
you see anything different in terms of like, I had another job at the same time when I was transitioning from the macro coaching was kind of a second job, and
Right.
I had a full-time job, so the timeline of everything, time was very constricted, or restricted, I should say. Now, did you see anything different of, like, was it your expectations of how much I worked, or was it kind of like eye-opening where you're like, oh my God, he works a ton, or he just is like obsessed with this, or?
Well, I remember it was a mutual friend that sent me to you, and he said, "Oh, he works at the hospital. He does X-ray, but if you text him, he'll get back to you." And I'm like, "Okay, that's kind of weird if he's at work and he works in a hospital." But you responded really fast, so I got really used to that. And then seeing, on the other end as a girlfriend, yeah, I mean, you definitely. There's one thing about I feel like there's not just Tyler, but maybe all macro coaches, I'm not sure, I can just speak from my own personal experience, that when you start dating somebody and they're sticking their head out the shower and they're texting, and I'm like, and you walk by,
No,
and
I
you're
didn't
like,
do that.
really? Like, you're,
didn't do
you're
that.
yes, you did.
I know I did that, but I'm
like,
just being
so
blunt.
yeah, it was all the time. And then I knew your phone, even at shows, would go off and off and off, but when we were dating, it was like, it never ending. And it's still like that. It's not to the extreme as it was, but
Yeah,
I swear you were
there's-
answering that phone in your sleep,
there's-
which you
which
kind
I
of were,
was,
because you
yeah.
have clients
Still-
that live in
still
other
do.
countries, so
Yep.
you do.
Still do. It's not as bad as it used to be, because I had a little bit more handle on it, but now, compared to, I had to learn through the process.
No, it's been a long process, though.
Yes, I appreciate you sticking with me through it. But even for like friends and clients, I'd go to shows or just hang out with them at different shows, or whatever it is. They would hang out and they're like, "Holy crap, dude, you're blowing up." And I'll never forget, there's one client I worked with for a long time, and he's like, "Dude, I never want your job. I never want to do what you're doing." And even to this day, I'll mention like, "Hey, does anyone want to be a macro coach?" He's still like, "No, I don't want to do what you're doing, because you're just too bombarded with text messages, emails, and."
The text
it's like
messages
a-
and the emails definitely in the way, because I felt like even sometimes now, those are things that we still discuss, where I feel like I'm talking to you, but I know it's important that you answer people's questions, because I know that I wanted that. So I sit between a fine line of, I know I want you to answer because I know how important it was to me, but yet now that I'm on the other side, where I feel like I'm speaking to you, but yet I don't necessarily sometimes feel heard. So as a wife and as a girlfriend, I felt like that has been one of our struggles. But I mean, over time, we've gotten better with help too, in doing different things. And we had some really good friends put some things into perspective. I'll never forget, we were visiting friends for a long week, And
Yes.
at the end, it was like, Tyler, what the hell are you doing?
Yes.
What is that?
Yes.
They asked you,
I
what is
did.
that? Why is it? Cut that crap out.
I had to
You
get
need
in
stop
line.
that.
I had to get in line. A good friend helped me with structuring my schedule a little bit better with clients. So that actually helped dramatically with improving our life quite a bit. Because with coaching, a lot of with the online world and the fitness world, a lot of people think that coaches are available nonstop.
Well, coaches,
They-
I feel like macro coaches are available nonstop because that's the precedence that the coaches, even yourself, you want to be available for those people and you put that. But I just like every business, I feel like there's boundaries. People need you guys teach life, to have life and have balance. That's part of it. And all those things encompass that. And that could be something else that's just as like over obsessive with the unknown and not being able to do things or make decisions on your own, because that's something that you as a coach try really hard to give everybody the tools to learn, but we're the only ones, and I say we, myself as a client, we're the only ones that can put them to use truthfully and know that they can work. And it's scary.
Yeah.
And that's why I said you got a lot of patience. And I think your patience is huge, and I would never want you to ever change that. And that's something that I love about you and what you do with your business, is because nothing's changed. Your integrity and your beliefs, and
Thank you.
I'd be pissed if you did.
Well, now there comes a time where there's a line you can't cross. There's balance you have to have to where it can't. And I'm the type of person that I get such tunnel vision
Yes.
that I don't know that I'm crossing that line of being unbalanced. And Nicole helps bring me back and kind of like opens up the vision to where I'm like starting to see the light. Okay, I'm like, okay, I need to pay attention to people around me, and Nicole especially. And sometimes you need that, at least I do, and she kind of balances me out. And sometimes you can't, like, if you don't know any other way, then you think that's totally fine. Where like a lot of people think that coaches in the online world think they don't have a life. They don't, they should be available 24/7. And that's fine. You could do that in your business model, but it'll wear on you after a while, where you won't have a life. You'll be on your phone, on emails, on the computer all the time, to where your personal life will suffer. And we see a lot of people that go through breakups and divorces and
Well, not
ending
even just
relationships because of the lack of communication with each other, but then also the lack of balance as well.
Well, also too, even outside of just being in a relationship, just as a coach alone, it wears on you a lot. You need to be able to do things for yourself, and we're kind of in that
That's
situation right
What
now.
I'm learning right now pretty hard.
So-
Those who are following my Life Gains over Gym Gains series, this is part of it.
So, I mean, I just like everything else. I mean, we've learned, and we're still learning. But I think being in a relationship, whether you're a female or a male, you're a male and you're in a relationship with a female that's a macro coach, or a female in a relationship, there are things that are very different in the lifestyle of. The trust is huge. I think probably the top thing, just as far as like a competitor in the bodybuilding world, is one, you gotta get used to your husband or your girlfriend or your wife
I already know that.
seeing naked pictures. And we're not talking just like, bikini like normal. We're talking full.
Well, not all the time. It's
Not all the
very
time.
rare.
but
there is
it's
times.
out there.
It does. Yeah, it does happen.
And you're in
Um,
public and
but-
you're sitting at a concert and your husband's scrolling through his phone and you got this other burly man next to him, and you look over your husband's phone, he's looking at just half naked people.
That's actually a true story. At Metallica, and I was looking through client stuff and seeing progress pictures, and this guy's like, every time I pull my phone out, he was like, he didn't say anything. It just
No.
it's some weird looks on his face.
It's definitely,
So-
it's different.
It's different.
It's
yeah.
different. And the travel and just the time. the time, and if you're the depth that you go with your charts, that just all that stuff is looking at everybody's progress and being involved with them, and even traveling to the events. That's huge. It's so much fun, and I think at the end of the day, even if for us, I know that when things go a little sour, at the end of the day, when somebody has accomplished one of their goals, that always brings us back to, this is why you're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't have anything different. So that's what keeps you going.
Yeah, that's just like any other
huge
relationship too, where the trust is huge. I mean, that goes for any relationship that, especially in the fitness world, you do have to have a lot of trust to be able to allow someone to coach and also be supportive. And I think it's important for the coach to be very open to the communication of being honest and having access to everything in terms of like, you have nothing to hide. You know what I mean? Like when I've seen pictures that were inappropriate from girls that was unintentional or even intentional.
Oh, there's males too.
Yeah. I immediately show Nicole. Immediately, like there's no question. And she's like, oh, okay, cool, no big deal. Because we're very open and honest with each other, and that's, I think, a big part of why we are still solid today.
Yeah.
So
I think it helps that I understand the industry too. I think a woman coming in or a man coming into the industry that has not competed or has not been around the industry, I think it would be extremely hard, because it is kind of very open in a way, and it's a very selfish sport, and that's not bad. There's lots of other sports out that they're team effort, but yet it's about that person. So yeah, it is difficult, but I mean, that's where the coach, husband, wife, reverse, whatever, has to take the time to familiarize that person, have an understanding about what's going on, and even if it's not that an interest to that person, just really help them understand, or keep them involved in some way. That was important to me. As much as I was heavily involved, and I've kind of come out of it, you've still made a point to help keep me involved in some way of understanding what's going on in just the industry alone. So.
And sometimes, like you said, if nobody's, the spouse isn't in the industry, it's very hard to understand it. But sometimes you have to, if you're a spouse listening to this, you don't necessarily have to understand it fully, but at least try to support it in a way where obviously it needs to be on good terms, whatever you're doing. But the support from a coach, at least from me, if I get the support I need, I am a lot more successful as a coach, just because it's good to know that my wife is on board with everything that I'm doing and trusts me fully. And so that's important to me, to be able to like keep going about my day knowing that I'm good here, so I can give everything I need over here. But if I'm not good here, then it's hard for me to give everything I want over there. So we've been really good with doing that. Now, the transition from like when you first started dating me to today, all of the turns and obstacles we've gone through with more business and transitioning, the business growing and venturing out and doing other businesses.
Right.
How has that kind of been?
The last 2 years have been pretty rough.
Okay.
Pretty brutal. I think.
How so?
Ooh. Again, that goes back to the time, because it's not just necessarily, now we're talking macro coach / entrepreneur, and how do you continue to grow to give back to your clients, and which, oh gosh, it's a time thing as much as, well, because you're like a one-man band right now, and
I mean, I have help. But
you have help. I mean, you have a staff right now that's amazing. But again, for as much as you're growing, I mean, there's more help needed, and there are people involved now, and that has helped tremendously. But I think that was the hardest thing that we've had to deal with, and we've had counseling to do that. And that isn't the only time we've had counseling. We had counseling before we got married. We had counseling when we dated. We had counseling before we got married, after we were married, just recently, for just you know, and I don't, and mentors and other married couples that have been married for years, and
Yes. It's all about working on everything. That
Yeah.
if stuff isn't going to be perfect, just like if you're a person, competitor, client, coach, whatever it is, it's never going to be perfect. So that you can't look at it as being a perfect world and everyone's human.
Yeah.
And that's part of the purpose of this video too, is just to show the human side of things.
So to answer the question, it basically with growing the business, it's time, because there's so much that's involved with expanding and the growth of the company. It's the time of where you get spread thin because you need to invest time and work on different things and grow things, but yet then you come home and you're still working. So sometimes you leave at 5 in the morning. We can get up at 5, you're doing charts. And then I might leave like I did today, go train, come back, you're doing charts, and then you leave again for the day. You come back and it's,
It never ends.
I'm lucky if you get home by 11. And even then, sometimes it's, you come home and, you know,
I've done
you're
all-nighters
still
before.
working, yeah. Or I would go to bed and wake up and
All-nighters.
he's not here.
Now it's gotten to the point where I've always realized this or known it. I just never knew how to adapt or get better at it or improve. My time is definitely the most valuable thing out there, and time, I was using up time quite a bit on all scales. I was burning myself out. Now
Yeah.
I've learned to basically hire other people to help even further with things that I don't need to do, and it should be continue to focus my time on what's important. And Nicole is one of them, to where I need to make sure that our relationship is solid, and I can't be working my life away. Otherwise, I'm just not going to be happy.
But that's something that we've learned just, I mean, you've never had a business like this, so this is, you know,
It's a learning process. It always is, yeah.
So,
I think the bottom line, that if you have a supportive spouse, you can kind of, if you work together as a team, even though you'll have some obstacles, if you work together as a team, it's really important to communicate and to be on the same page as much as possible. Because if you don't communicate, then it's just not going to work out. So yeah, that's it. There's been a lot of transitions from working full-time at X-Ray with coaching part-time, to quitting my job, to working full-time X-Ray or coaching, and then Nicole able to quit her job to be able to help with our business as well. So it's been very, very rewarding for me personally, and I'm assuming for
Yes.
Nicole too.
it's
So
one of the biggest gifts ever, and amazing. Although I wear lots of hats now.
Hopefully they're colorful.
I wear lots of different hats, but they're good. I mean, it's good. It pushes me to learn different things, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you for being awesome. Everything. Well, thank you guys for watching this video. We wanted to shed some perspective. Hopefully it kind of gave you some insight on spouses with online coaching and kind of what it really is like, because we always see the outside of things, like with social media, and that it's this big fake facade most of the time. So we just want to kind of shed some light on the realism of what it really is, kind of on the back end, from someone else's perspective, not just my own, because I could say whatever I want in terms of how I feel, but when someone kind of looks on the outside in and sees what's really going on, then just like coaching, then they can kind of really shed the light on you, like, whoa, okay, yeah, I'm being a butthead, or hey, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I'm
So-
sure I probably didn't answer probably some questions for people, but I'm sure.
We can do another video.
Oh.
We can do many of them. Thanks, guys, and we will see you guys later.